The Last Guardian is a chore. It's a 3 or 4 hour long game which inexplicably lasts about 8. 8 tedious hours of fighting against problems that would have been slightly less obvious and a little bit more forgivable in 2011 when this poor, dated wreck was supposed to be released. The environments are stunning as usual. The movement animations for the boy and the beast are amazing. The sound design is great. I can't fault the aesthetic qualities of the experience as a whole at all. You can see the effort in it. You can see the love and the passion, the ideas that have stayed intact, even as the years rolled on and the industry changed. How can I come down on a game which, just as Ico and Shadow of the Colossus before it, has planted its aspirations so firmly in artful soil and allowed something flawed but beautiful to grow? Well, here's how. Picture this. You're playing Tetris, and you know exactly the next move you need to make so as to not lose. But instead of being able to do it yourself, the controller is in the hands of a robot that can only accept commands at random intervals. Sometimes it listens, and sometimes you point and gesture frantically for up to 10 minutes before it'll do anything. And by that point, it's far too late. You hate playing the game this way, and you hate that fucking robot. Well, Trico is that robot. He's a walking Skinner box style reward system that will sit for minutes at a time, not doing anything, as you do your best to shout and point and flail, only to randomly act of his own accord, finally allowing you to progress a little bit and give you a taste of what it would be like to actually enjoy the game instead of resent it. Now, the obvious backlash that I face from this argument is that the animal acts like an animal. And yes, he does, that is true, I cannot deny that. He's a big fucking moron dog that blunders about and fucks my day up. Oh, but John, you're missing the point. It's meant to be slow and repetitive. You're learning and growing together, forming a bond. It removes agency from the player to make you miss Trico when he isn't there. You need him. Well, my favourite bit of the game was where Trico almost drowned me, and I got to run away from a bad Trico on my own. I finally had control to make the game move at a tolerable pace. It was great. Then I got trapped in a boy cage and the game went back to being its normal sluggish self. A big realisation I had while playing this game was that it just isn't that fun to have all of your agency removed. I get what they were going for and usually I would defend it, but in this case, it came at the cost of pacing and my patience especially. And it really pains me to talk like this, like talking about fun, like some kind of IGN hack. Jesus. Fun usually isn't important to me if it feels like there is a reason to deny it to the player. I wouldn't say Eco is fun at all, but I got more out of that experience than this one. It was easy to move around with Yorda, and the emotional connection feels less forced and more powerful when you don't want to kick her head in for constantly holding you back. The intentionally obtuse, protracted process of getting Trico to act didn't teach me patience for a beast I was chumming about with. It made me question why a game would lumber me with a burdensome idiot and expect me to enjoy pointing at things and looking for barrels. There aren't exactly any challenging puzzles to get invested in. It's focused entirely on this developing relationship with Trico and the refinement of your teamwork. But that doesn't really translate when you've been ahead of the game the whole time and Trico's still an idiot 7 hours in. I apologise for what I'm about to do. I'm about to talk about a book and how it relates to the situation I found myself in with The Last Guardian. I know. I'm sorry. During the process of playing this game, I finally got around to reading Play Anything, a book by Ian Bogost touting an honest appreciation of the world around us, even of the things we would usually deem unworthy of such attention. This included games, although he hardly even mentions them in the text. He is a respected game designer and thinker in the medium though, so it felt natural for me to instantly draw connections between this philosophical outlook and my current dissatisfaction with The Last Guardian. In the book, Bogos takes a stance against irony and the natural armour of cold indifference people wear in order to protect themselves from the world and all of its potential disappointments and grievances. He suggests that with enough self-correction and self-awareness, people can take the forgotten ground of their daily lives, turn it to form, and give it the light and honest appreciation it deserves. In other words, try to fight the natural urge to dismiss something, a game about a wee boy pissing about with a big idiot, for example, and attempt to understand and even admire its place in the world alongside you, rather than in service to you. Now this might all sound like hippie bullshit, and it mostly is, I guess, but there is something to this idea. I couldn't shake it the whole time I was playing. Every time I found myself getting upset with the game over stupid little things, I'd try my best to correct myself. It brought me through some of the most beautiful vistas I'd ever seen in video games, and my heart did ache just a little tiny bit every time Trico did something bold and stupid to help me. I just tried to remind myself that it doesn't exist just for me. It was made for everybody, but especially for the people who conceived it and gave it form over almost a decade of work. People who just wanted to tell a story. It isn't perfect, far from it actually, but who or what is? I know I'm certainly not. I mean, even with all the extra scrutiny I put my attitude through during this process, I still can't see this game as anything more than a beautiful bore. Like Kristen Stewart. Yeah, exactly. This game is Kristen Stewart. I think I've said all I can, and it feels like this really fell apart towards the end, but I do think the failure is mostly on me here. I just didn't engage with it, and I lost out. I lost out more than those who managed to let go of that ironic emotional shield for a little while. The ones that managed to smile through the dated aspects of The Last Guardian and just love it for what it is.